I press go live and everything this time. This is great. Welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Show. This is John McGlynn, and you can find me on X at JohnMcGlynn75. You can find this Commissioner Evaluation Show on Fantrax. You can find my Dynasty Evaluation Show on Fantasy and Frames. And you could find Justin Taylor on X at JT Orange. Justin, what's going on?
What's up, John? Happy to be here. It's Combine Week. Love the Combine Week. So getting pumped for it. All kinds of rumors out there. Everybody's out there, doing interviews today, all the stuff. And then we get to see all the action at the end of the week. Hopefully more guys than not decide they want to actually participate.
Put an end to some of this rumorville stuff going on. But let's breeze through some commissioner questions. We'll review some trades that went down in Mighty McGlynn Dynasty home leagues. We'll evaluate a team to see if it's a rebuild or remodel. We are on a roll, and let's go.
McGlynn is in. I repeat, McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with your host, John McGlynn.
Was that Herms?
He got them guests on the Rolodex, stopping by to talk about some Dynasty Superflex. Everybody, commish is in. It's time to sit down to listen to John McGlynn. Yo, who we trading, who we fading, who we getting off the squad. Knowledge never overrated, playing for number one. And McGlynn is in. It's time to let the fun begin. It's the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast with John McGlynn.
All right. Also, first of all, let's get this commissioner stuff. Just let everybody know this is the perfect time of year to switch from redraft to dynasty. If you are in a redraft league and all of your friends think there's nothing else to do right now, but they missed their team, some of the owners in different leagues who had really good teams or had really good records and wish they can keep their team, that's a good time to kind of talk them into, hey, you can keep your team if we had a dynasty league. There's a lot of stuff to do in the offseason of dynasty league. We talk about, rookie drafts, have get-togethers, all kind of stuff like that. Just talk about they could be trading the entire offseason. They're, if people like to trade, the guys who like to do offers. So grab the owners that seem the most interested and involved, and ask them to make a leap with you if they want to try to dynasty league. I got two guys this year that I was in some redraft leagues with that were trying to do dynasty, but the rest of the league was not interested. And I had a guy who had kind of a fit one time. We were in a group chat. He had a fit and just left two leagues that I'm in. And, whatever. That's what happens sometimes. Some people have wild hair up their ass and they do stuff like that. And you got to fill some orphans. It is what it is. So I got two guys from redraft leagues who've been in redraft for a long time. They know the players. I kind of talked them in and said, hey, listen, redraft is just the same. Dynasty is the same thing as redraft. It's like a year and a half, 2 years, maybe a 2.5 year kind of window you look at instead of just a horse race for 1 year. But that's about it. You're keeping all your good players for a year or so. When you think they're on the downtrend, you try to trade them for some draft picks or some, diversify some other players. That's all there is to it. So sometimes a lot of people want to make the jump to dynasty. They just don't know where to go. So make sure you ask for all that kind of stuff. JT, you're in almost nothing but dynasty leagues, right?
I'm in everything, honestly, John. I've got a couple leagues I've been in for 20 years or so that are all redraft leagues. I'm in some keeper leagues, do a lot of dynasty, got in a lot of dynasty. I do some best ball dynasty, a lot of IDP leagues. I'm in some CFF leagues for college. I'm in C2C where I do college and pro combined leagues. So I do it all. So I play in everything.
Everything, dabbles in everything. I got like 3 or 4 people already started for my first ever IDP league. All right, so it's I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try the ID. I'm going down the IDP rabbit hole, but I want to do redraft for 1 season so I get to know players' values, where they're at, all that kind of stuff like that. And when I'm happy with it and I find out I have the settings right or the settings wrong, I'm gonna switch then to a dynasty league. But that's kind of the format I want to do. I'm not comfortable with the IDP yet, so I don't want to draft year 1 and just screw myself for 5 or 7 years on the road. So it's gonna take me a year to kind of get settled in before I draft or know where to draft at. And so I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to do a year of IDP stuff and then redraft and then go from there. JT, if you want to join, I'll send you the invite. You got a couple guys who were pretty damn good at IDP already in the league. So,
I might have to jump in there and do that, John. You might have to talk me into it.
Yes. So the Combine is coming up this week, JT. What do you know about the Combine?
Super pumped. Always in Indianapolis, Indiana at Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play at home. I'm a Colts season ticket holder. I'm only an hour and a half away. I every year say I'm going to go to the combine and something comes up. I got my tickets, got on the NFL app, popped them up. So I am going Saturday for quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running back drills. Pretty pumped about it. I'd like to go over a couple days, but I couldn't get that many days out of town. We had to work, had to cover some shifts, but I was able to get Saturday covered. So I'm going to head over Saturday morning early and hopefully get a little firsthand knowledge, a little look at some guys there on Saturday. Hopefully a decent amount of guys decide they want to participate in the drills.
Yeah, my daughter's got a game in first of all, I have to work Saturday. I'm working midnights this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was thinking about taking a day off, maybe some days off to go to combine, but my daughter's got a game in Nebraska. And if I'm not going to drive 9 hours to get to Nebraska to watch her 45-minute or an hour and 10-minute game, she's going to be pissed if I had to drive 3 hours to go watch the NFL combine. So I said, no, I'll just work. I won't use a vacation day. I'll just kind of do that stuff. So I'm going to miss the combine, unfortunately, but it is what it is. That's how life works sometimes. So what are news and rumors and stuff's going on in the NFL right now?
Everybody's kind of, everything's around the combine right now. Who's actually gonna perform, who's not, who's waiting for their pro day. Some guys are coming in just for interviews. Some guys are going to compete. We've talked about this in the past. Me and you, I just wish everybody would do the combine like they used to. It used to be a huge invite. Everyone did it because there's your one chance to show out in front of all the different owners and GMs and coaches. And now, the pro days have become so important, where that used to be kind of like a side thing, was like, oh, the guys are going to be late round draft picks, do the pro days. Everybody that's going to be a high draft pick is going to do the combine. And now it's kind of switched. They still invite guys, but a lot of these guys take the pro day at their college or university way more serious than they do the combine. They don't always do the drills. So, but we've got a lot of stuff out there, man. Justin Fields, the Bears are number one topic. Are the Bears going to move the number one 2 years in a row? Are they going to trade that number one pick 2 years in a row? Or do they decide to take Caleb Williams and possibly move Justin Fields? If they do move Justin Fields, what is going to be the compensation? Who are they going to move him to? Rumors heavily out there for the Pittsburgh Steelers that they might move him there. Right now, just crazy rumors flying around online. A ton of stuff that's not substantiated whatsoever. So be careful on some of those ones you read out there. I saw a crazy one. I think somebody just totally made it up about Bears wanting the Steelers' first round pick and Deontay Johnson for Fields. Who knows? I mean, I saw a couple weeks ago as they wanted George Pickens and a first and a third, and so who knows? People are just making stuff up or hearing rumors, but it'd be interesting to see what happens because the Bears hold all the cards right now, and it's going to be interesting to see if some of these other QBs actually perform at the combine and look really good, and whether that convinces some other teams possibly to move up in the draft. The Bears could make it. I mean, this is a make or break for the Bears, I think. Last year trading the number one pick was the smart move, having Justin Fields already on the roster. They were able to get DJ Moore, obviously was a great move. DJ Moore looked awesome last year. They've helped out the defense. And now, John, do you take Caleb Williams or is Justin Fields end up being your man? You move out of this pick again and you end up getting a ton more draft capital. I mean, we're going to look back in 10, 15 years, John, and say these were the 2 years that the Bears either changed their franchise trajectory around and became just one of the top echelon teams because they put it all together with these trades, or this is where everyone's going to talk about like the Bears blew it. That was the time they had the chance 2 years in a row with a number one pick, and they never came away with a elite QB. So it's going to be really interesting.
Would it be the end of the world if the Bears just kept Justin Fields and drafted Caleb Williams and just went through camp and seen who was the best quarterback? And at least at that point in time, it's not my money. They'd have to sign Justin Fields for the fifth-year option by doing that. I mean, if you're the Bears, do you say, you know what? Hey, man, we don't know. We're not sure yet. We don't want to make another mistake again. We can't afford to make another mistake again. Let's just pay the $27 million next year and then just figure out what we got. In worst case scenario, best case scenario, Justin Fields dusts Caleb Williams in camp, and you got Justin Fields for the remainder of the. You still draft a wide receiver at 9. You still get one of the couple good Odunze or somebody like that. It's. What do you? Is that out of this? Is that completely out of the realm of possibility?
The problem with that strategy is, as a fantasy manager, I don't mind that strategy at all. But as an NFL team, I think the problem is if you do that and Justin Fields wins the job, you've just lost a load of value on Caleb Williams. The number one pick right now, if people love Caleb Williams, this is the highest this value is ever going to be. If he goes to the Bears and doesn't play well, or, say they kept Fields and Fields wins the job, Caleb Williams now is a person you got to trade, and you're not going to get much for him compared to what you would get for the 1-1. So that's the big issue there. I mean, it's honestly the issue for the Bears for most of these teams is they don't have the cap space to sign their quarterback. And so they got to go with a younger QB that they don't have to pay. The Bears have plenty of cap space.
Yes.
They can sign Justin Fields to a long-term deal without ruining the rest of their team. They're young on defense. They've got some nice spots on offense. I mean, I would love to see him keep Fields, draft O-line, and draft wide receiver, and shore up that O-line for him and get him another weapon. The defense was much improved last year. I like where they're heading on offense. I think Roshan in his second year looks good. Cole Kmet is starting to step out. He's looking nice. DJ Moore was a great addition. If you could add a top flight left tackle and Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm sold on that. I'd be all over that.
Absolutely. Well, Raiders said that Devontae Adams is not going anywhere. I see people talking about Justin Jefferson's getting traded to the Chiefs or somewhere like that. That's probably not going to happen. These are rumorville stuff that goes around the echo chamber of Twitter, and people just trying to make articles to get clicks and stuff like that. So Broncos making a decision with Russell Wilson next couple of weeks. I don't know what's going to happen there. That damage might have already been done, but there's all kind of stuff going around right now. So, but what we get to talk about now is our favorite thing in the whole world is trades. All right. We got some trades that happen in the Mighty McGlynn Dynasty home leagues. These are the home leagues I run. And some were active, some are more active than others. In the last couple of weeks or so, we had actually yesterday, one of my leagues, the Brainiacs, which is named after one of our old members that actually passed away. So these are the leagues the one that happened. There's like 8 trades that happened. So I'm going to run through them. You tell me which side you got, because these are in a vacuum. You don't need, we don't have to go through the whole process of where they're at and what their team is. So in a vacuum kind of deal. Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson for Josh Downs and a 25 second.
For me, I'm going Downs on the 25 second.
Wow.
Here's why I'm doing it. Here's why I like it, John. If you look at it initially, Aaron Jones and Stevenson is the play. Stevenson did not give you what you thought you were going to get out of him next year. Who knows about that Patriots offense? Aaron Jones banged up last season, looked great down the stretch, which means his value is super high right now because he was so good in the playoffs. But he was banged up most of the year last year. He's also 30. Are they going to draft somebody and kind of start moving on for him? That's the question there. Those are more win now pieces. Josh Downs, I think, is still super underrated. Obviously, Pittman's there. They might go out and get another wide receiver. But Josh Downs put up a heck of a rookie season for the Colts. With Gardner Minshew at QB, I think that Colts offense is on the way up. I like Anthony Richardson. I like him. Plus, in the second, I am gobbling up seconds because, man, there's some other wideouts there and a bunch of younger running backs that I want a shot at. So that's where I'm taking it in that early second. If that's early to mid-second, I could probably get one of the top 3 RBs in this draft. I also could go double down and go 2 running backs for 2 wide receivers. That is why I like Downs in the second.
Just a 25 second though, but it's still
25 seconds. Oh, that hurts it a little bit. That hurts a little bit because I love the 24 second this year.
Yes.
I'm all over 24 seconds. That 25 second, that's a little rough. I'm probably going to lean downside just because I like Downs. I'm a Colts fan. I'm just going to eat. But Aaron Jones, again, scares me. Just availability, injured. Yes, he's good, but he is 30 and he was banged up most of last year. And Stevenson was just really disappointing to me. Can he bounce back and be that guy from 2 years ago? Maybe. But I like the upside of Downs. And again, if I can afford to wait on a 25-second, I still take the 25 second. It's a 24-second. I absolutely love it. But 25, I could still be talked into it.
I'm mesmerized by. I'm not a big Aaron Jones fan, but I see what he does. He's a PPR absolute animal, and he's a goal line back.
If he's healthy, he's great. If he's
Yeah.
healthy, he's a great cog on your team. And I'm probably just, a little bit biased because of the fact that I had him in a few teams this year and he was hurt and he just crushed me for being hurt all year. And so like when he played awesome is when I didn't need it because I was already out of the playoffs. So I guess that's, like I said, but if you could sell Aaron Jones right now, I think it's a good place to sell him. And then you just got to decide, do you like, Ramador or not? Last year I thought his value was peaked. And this year, I think, has gone back down, especially with how bad that offense was.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson and Aaron Jones, to me, that it seems like it possibly could be a winning combination because Ramondre Stevenson can get close to 60, anywhere from 60, like 55 to 70 catches, in a season if he's the lead workhorse, and possibly the goal line back work. All three, it could be a 3-down back, and we know Aaron Jones what he can do. So this is pretty close to me, and I'm not a big receiver fan.
I like you, John. Win now team. If I got a team that's ready to compete this year, I'm going for a title. I like the Jones Stevenson side because I know I should get hopefully at least one good year. Maybe hopefully you're praying for 2, but hopefully you get that one good year. If I'm a rebuild
Downs on the second,
and Jones and Stevenson aren't going to get me over the top, I'd rather have Downs on the second, kind of reset myself.
You can kind of read the tea leaves in some of these trades too.
Yeah.
Who's which side's what's this and that. But at the same time, like a lot of these trades, you're going to be like, oh, geez, that's so close. And that's a good thing. When the trades are pretty much equal, the league doesn't complain. The owners are happy. Everybody's happy. And who gives a shit if the league, cares anyway? But it's the 2 owners that should be the only people that care about it. But the other ones are just jealous because they didn't send trades out or they don't want to put the work in or jealous everybody else does. But, I mean, hey, we had a lot of trades in this league. So this one was Michael Gallup. The second one was Michael Gallup and the 110 for Josh Jacobs.
For me, it's where you think that what's going to be there at that 110. What are you eyeing? Because obviously, I don't think Gallup is that great of a piece here.
No.
He feels like kind of a throw-in. So I guess for me, it's like, where are you at? Who do you think you're going to get at 110 compared to Josh Jacobs? So the Josh Jacobs is up in the air. Does he go back to the Raiders? Does he end up somewhere else? He's still young. I think he feels like he's been in the league forever, but he's only about 24, right? I think 24, maybe going on 25. So he's still pretty young, even though he's already been in the league 4 or 5 years. 110, if I love the wide receiver crew that's going to be there at 110, which I think there's some guys that you could fall in love with. Or if you think, hey, I'm going to move Josh Jacobs because I think I can get the number 1 running back in this draft class at 110, I can see making that move. Hey, I'm going to get younger. I want to go get a Braylon Allen at 110 who's 20 instead of the 25-year-old Brandon Jacobs. I think on the surface, Brandon Jacobs looks like the move, but I can totally talk myself into the 110 and Gallup, especially if the guy I like at 110, I think long-term is going to be better for me over the next couple of years than Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, especially these are all super flex. I forgot to say 12-team, 30-man deep rosters, no kicker, no defense, PPR, tight end premium 0.75, super flex 5 and 2 for touchdown interception with bonuses. So Jacobs has already proven he could do it. The 110, you're just throwing, it's a dice roll right now. You have no idea what you're getting, especially that part.
You just got to hope you really like someone there, right, John? Like you got to say like, hey, there's 2 or 3 guys I think are going to fall to me, and I really like that guy. That's where I could talk myself into the 110. I'm probably a Josh Jacobs guy there. Like I would probably take Josh Jacobs unless my team was just, garbage.
Yeah.
I'm probably taking Josh Jacobs, but if I love one of those running backs or, I love Troy Franklin or I love Brian Thomas, and I think one of those guys is going to get to me at 110, I could see making that move.
Yeah. Okay. So next one, Pat Freiermuth has been traded away for Rashid Shaheed and Demario Douglas. What's your side?
I can't believe you're asking me this question. Muth. I mean, this is Muth by a mile.
A mile, yeah.
Oh, Muth, man, I love Muth. Injury last year, offense was down, but dude, the first 2 seasons of him, 60 catches, over 700 yards both years. Muth has got top 5, 6, 7 potential. if they got if they can get a quarterback, I like Muth, especially in tight end premium. I'm all over Muth in this trade.
Yeah, the Patriots are going to upgrade here. The Saints are going to upgrade here. It's absolutely. So, next one.
I'm trading those guys for Muth everywhere if I can do that. If I can make that move, I'm making it.
Making it. Zach Charbonnet for Nick Chubb.
This is all about youth versus experience. Coming off
Nick
the
Chubb
ACL,
may not play again.
That's the question. Is Chubb with the injury, which seemed pretty serious? It was. Some of these ACLs are worse than others. I think he had multiple injuries in there. That's the toughie. If you are a Sharp guy, I can see you taking him. I'm not a big Charbonnet guy. I know some people are. I'm more of a Kenny Walker fan, if I have to say. I could see taking the shot on Chubb because he could give you immediate return. I'm real scared on him a year after the injury. He's already going to be close to 30. At that point, are you waiting 2 years to get the full Nick Chubb back? I don't know.
You're never getting that back.
That's the toughie for me. I think hoping that Charbonnet becomes what you think he could be is probably worth the trade. Probably leaving Charge. Man, that's a toughie. I just don't want to overpay for Chubb right now. I don't think Charbonnet is an overpay. My worry is just, what am I ever going to get out of Chubb again? I just don't know.
When they're head scratchers, I mean, it's a good trade. I get it.
Yeah, right. I can see guys talking each other into either one. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here's a bunch of picks: 201, 211, 212. And a 25 first, which probably will just go, no matter how good or bad a team is, we're going to say it's a mid first, okay? 201, 211, 212, and a 25 first for Deshaun Watson and Tony Pollard.
Oh, John, you know me, man. I'm a picks guy. I love the picks, and I am absolutely out on Deshaun Watson. I am out on Deshaun Watson. I just don't think we're ever getting the Deshaun Watson from 4 years ago. I don't think he's ever coming back. So for me personally, I can see taking Watson here. I can see taking Pollard here. I'm a pick guy. I love the 2-1 this year. There's guys I'm going to like at 211 and 212 this year. And the fact that I get a 25 first next year, I'm liking it. I'm probably making that move. Some people say it might not be enough for Watson with Pollard. But I want the picks. I want the young guys. I feel like I can do more with them, and I just don't like Watson. And I'm very in between on Pollard. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I'll take him, but I'm not actively trying to go get him.
Yeah. The problem is what happens if you get lucky and get like JJ McCarthy at that 201? Wouldn't that be nice? Like, that would be kind of like, I'm not saying that he'll supplant to be better than Watson long term, or I know you're not a Watson guy, but if you can get like JJ McCarthy and then a couple, maybe a tight end or there's a lot of receivers in this class, and we talked about them on the last show earlier this morning. I would take the stab at these picks, and I'm a Watson guy, so I'm not a Tony Pollard guy at all. I traded him for a 3rd round pick like 4 years ago, but he blew up like last year, or 2 years ago anyway. This is pretty tough for me. This is a pretty even trade. So I would hate to be in this position because I don't want to give up a quarterback in a super flex because they're so hard to replace, but I get it, man. I see.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if you like Watson, I think this is a good trade.
Yes.
I think it's a good trade if you like Watson. I just don't personally like Watson, so I'm going the picks. I like where I can get with the picks. I feel decent about what 3 guys I can get in that second round. And then again, the 25 first, you just never know where that's going to land. I'm going to take it just because I'm not a Watson guy, but I think that's fair value to get those 2 players.
Yeah. Same league again. More trades. Javonte Williams, Isaiah Pacheco, the 106 and the 206 for Drake London, Jahmyr Gibbs, and 303.
Ooh, this one is a tight one, John. Oh, man. Let me break this down for a second in my head.
These are all from yesterday. These were really good trades, man. It was going nuts.
Yeah, you got to love when when a move goes down and then everybody else goes, I need to get in the mix. And then you start seeing trades fly everywhere. That's the best. That's one of the best part of fantasy is when everybody gets in it and everybody starts making moves. You love to see it. This one is a toughie for me. I'm trying to think who I get at 106 tight end premium. I maybe get Bowers, Neighbors there. Maybe a QB falls to me if somebody doesn't love one of the guys.
Probably not getting Bowers. I'll tell you that much. You're probably
Probably
not getting
not. If I knew I was going to get Neighbors or Bowers, I might make the trade. I think I'm taking the London Gibbs 303 side.
Are you a Javante guy?
I am not. I like him. I only had him in a couple leagues, and I moved him for like the 1-7-1-8 before last season's rookie draft. And then I ended up getting Jordan Addison mostly in that spot. I took Addison where I traded Williams. It's not that I'm against him. The injury concerned me. I wasn't 100% sold on the Broncos offense, what was going to happen there with Peyton. I'm not anti him. I'm probably lower on Pacheco than other people. I think he's fine. I'm just always worried about the Chiefs really, really hammering with one guy. I think he more got played just because everybody else was banged up this year.
Yeah, right.
ECH is banged up. I mean, I think Jerick McKinnon would have stole more work if he wasn't banged up most of the season. So that's got me a little scared on the Pacheco side. I'm always afraid these teams are going to just go get a new guy. 1-6, I like I said, I like this mid-second round. So like 2-6, I think I can get another good running back there or wide receiver if I'm getting Pacheco. This feels like a really even trade for me. I'm taking Gibbs because I like Gibbs. I like London. And the 303, I think of the 303, there's still going to be some wideouts I like there and maybe a running back that I want to take a stab at if somebody falls. So I like that move. I think it's very even trade. I think it's a nice move by both these teams. I think it just depends on what you prefer. And I lead the London. I lean just slightly the Gibbs London side.
So do I a little bit. I'm kind of a Javante guy, but last year it just seemed like Sean Payton wanted nothing to do with him. He was almost like, hey, you could be in there when everybody else is injured or something else. But I mean, he was stuffing every other running back on the team to split time with Javante when anybody else is healthy. So, and like you said, Pacheco's a replaceable asset. He's just someone who walked on the team, and I don't know, he wasn't even drafted, was he? Or he was like a 7th round pick or something like that. But
Pacheco was like a 7th rounder and pretty positive out of Rutgers.
So they have nothing to invest in him. They don't care. It's a cheap running back, but I mean, he's gone as soon as they get a replacement. I'm going to go London. I just think with a quarterback upgrade this year, you hopefully break out. From what you expected, you saw flashes, but that was quarterback play more than the lack of wide receiver being able to do anything. So it is what it is. I'm probably to go with the London, Gibbs, and the 303 side myself. Next one, Devonta Smith, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 407 and 504, which, those are kind of throw-ins for Trey McBride and 109. This is my trade. I had a couple of these in my trades, but
this one is wild, John. I kind of like this one. This one's spicy. Trey McBride and the 109. I'm a big Trey McBride. I actually just came out. I got a pod that they asked me who they thought was going to be the top scoring tight end next year, and I actually said Trey McBride. I think he's going to be the top scoring fantasy tight end next year with Kyler Murray there all year, hopefully healthy. The 109, you're looking at one of those wide receivers that we talked about, Franklin, a Worthy, of Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman. Like those guys, I think JSN is going to have a bounce back year. I really still like him. Devontae Smith, I know you are a big Devontae guy. I like him a lot. 4 and 5. Everybody says it's a throw-in. I love giving me more picks. Give me more shots at it. I want to take some guys there. I'm gonna lean slightly, even though it's McBride with the tight end premium. If I feel like I'm okay on tight end, I'll take Smith and Smith, Devontae Smith, Jackson Smith, Najigba.
I'm taking a 504, right? I got to throw it on purpose.
Hey, Joe Milton. Gotta go Joe Milton.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Exactly who you're taking. I know you are.
I'm sucking up early 5s in every draft. They just throw it just to get up. Yes, absolutely.
I love it. I love it, man. And then you take a shot on a tight end in the 4th round.
Exactly.
I think you throw that out there, and maybe you get a hit there. I think it's a very even trade. I really like it, especially if you're tight end needy and want McBride. I'm a big McBride guy. I like it. But I like both the wide receivers there. I think a lot of years ahead for those two guys.
There might be a tight end from Penn State that falls somewhere in the middle of the 4th round. I could trade up a little bit, possibly. You never know. And this could be
definitely do that.
Yeah. So next trade, same league. Antonio Gibson in the 301 for Mingo, Michael Wilson in a 407.
Oh, man, this one. I got to think how I feel about that. Where's Gibson ending up? Is he going to still be in Washington, or is he going somewhere else?
He already got. He's gone. They let him go as a free agent, so he's already.
So that's the biggest question. There is like, where does he end up? I like him. I know you like
Chargers.
him.
What happens?
No, dude, if he goes to Chargers, his value skyrockets. So that's the thing is like you just got to figure if he goes to Chargers and they don't draft anybody, he skyrockets. I like Michael Wilson. I think he's due for a little bit more of the workload there in Arizona. I know you like Mingo. I'm very blah on Mingo. I just don't know. I don't love Carolina. 4-7 to 3-1. Oh, John. It's all guys you like involved here. So I'm like, it's like hard to decide which side you would take.
It's my trade. Of course, that's what it is. I took Gibson to 301. Mingo, I kind of like. I'm like, man, I like him, but I think I'm trying to wash my hands with Mingo at this point in time. Michael Wilson, I just think if they're going to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. and they got Trevor Bride as a tight end and Wilson's like the 3rd, maybe even 4th receiver on this team, I don't know what's going to happen. So I know he's good, but he just get lost in the shuffle for a couple of years, and that's how recievers die. And it is what it is. So
I think it's a pretty even trade. Yeah, I definitely think that's depending on what you think. I can see Gibson. If Gibson gets a nice landing spot, I'm going to end up saying I love the Gibson side on this. I do like the 301. I do think there's going to be some nice value at the 301 in this draft.
Yeah.
So I think you could get a guy equal to Mingo or Wilson at the 301
for sure.
And so I don't mind if you like Gibson and need running back help. I don't mind that move.
So Antonio Gibson for Jonathan Mingo, which one would you take in that? In 1-for-1 straight up trade?
I'm probably going Gibson. I like Gibson more. I probably most likely would need more running back help, and I'm just not sold that Mingo's gonna ever be anything. Yeah. He could. I like obviously he's got all the athletic traits, but is he going to be a guy that steps in and act? I actually believe in Michael Wilson more than I do in Jonathan Mingo. If that tells you anything.
Yeah, I like all three. I like every player in this trade, unfortunately, but it's my team, and I had to get rid of some guys I like. Plus, I have like a 37-man roster on a 30 I have 37 guys on a 30-man roster, so I had to start doing like 2-for-1s and shit like that also. So,
and that's a good move, John. I think that's some people sometimes don't think about. Like, are you maybe losing the trade a little bit value-wise? Yes, but if you have more guys than you can fit on your roster, sometimes you got to give up an extra guy to make that move, and or else you have to cut people. So you might as well make the trade and get somebody else for it. So I like that move, especially cutting roster space.
And I got CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown and a bunch of other guys, and and DJ Moore on his team, and Chris Godwin, and now I also have Devonta Smith and Jackson Smith and Jib as my 4 and 5. And it's those guys will sit on my bench all season anyway. So I might as well get a running back and possibly another running back at 301. So it is what it is.
Absolutely.
All right, so one more trade that happened in this league yesterday was Isaiah Spiller for Greg Dulcich. Isaiah Spiller and a 309 for Greg Dulcich. Now, this is not one of my trades. I like Greg Dulcich, but the dude just seems to have spaghetti for hamstrings. I don't know it's going to be a long time thing or what's going to happen. But it's a tight end premium league, and Dulcich I feel like he's going to be one of those guys who's anywhere from tight end like 12 to like 27, and it doesn't really matter. So I figured I'd just re-roll with the 309 and get maybe a possibility. Isaiah Spiller was pretty well sought after in the early draft process, and he ran slow, and everybody just kind of said, this guy's nothing. I just feel like Isaiah Spiller is going to be one of those guys who gets an opportunity and just takes the ball and runs with it, kind of thing. So I am sneaking him in trades lately. Maybe I over what do you call it? I sold low on Dulcich just for this kind of thing, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, Dulcich, the injury concerns. He looked great as a rookie, and then now it's just been injury. I'm kind of looking through my list of kind of stuff we talked about before when we talked about rookies. I'm trying to say, like, who might be in that 3.9 range? Oh, John, 3.9. You can maybe get an Audric Estime in there.
That's what I'm thinking.
You could. There's a guy like
Frank
that.
Gore Jr.
You could get a Frank Gore Jr., maybe a Marshawn Lloyd if he drops.
Yeah.
yeah, there's some running backs I like in there. Plus, I would take maybe a shot at like a if Jalen McMillan's there, like a 3-9 or Jacob Cowing. I could see myself talking myself into one of those guys. So yeah, I don't hate that 3-9 pick. And again, it's what you think about Dolchich. I like him. I've got him on quite a few teams. The question is whether he's ever going to be healthy enough. And then does Spiller get run with the Chargers? Again, if they don't go out and get a lot of guys, there's a chance that he maybe gets a shot to be one of the main guys in that backfield. If he does, that's a huge win.
Yeah. So that's all the trades that went down in that league. Yeah, it was just a crazy powerhouse trade day. So it was, yeah. Excuse me for coughing. And then we have the Bavaro League. Okay, this is a just throw-in bonanza, okay? So it's Rashad Penny, Alan Lazard, Donald Parham, Ashton Doolin, and Albert O, because I love Albert O. I don't know why I can't get rid of this guy. In every league I have him, I don't know. For a 25 fourth. So somebody was doing a roster dump, and the other one was a 25 fourth. But I honestly, I kind of have a soft spot for Alan Lazard. I think that when Rodgers comes back this year, Lazard might be able to perform as like a wide receiver, like a wide receiver 4 kind of thing. And I don't know.
I love it, John. I love how you talk yourself into certain guys like I do. I cannot give up on. There's just a couple guys I just absolutely love, and I just cannot give up on. And it's Penny. I love Rashad Penny, and I love Alberto. I love those two guys.
Love Alberto.
So I would probably trade the 4th just to get those two guys, even though they're probably never going to do anything. Yeah. I would probably do it just because I'm like, I really want to see these guys. I want to see them. Like, I want to hope that they ended up blowing up. I see what happens. I don't know, but I can see as a roster dump for the 4th. But I like Penny and I like Alberto. I'm giving them another shot. I'm sticking with them.
I like Ashton Doolin. I'm not a big Donald Parham fan. I just had to, take one in the ass on that one. But I like Lazard. Just for like a year or so. If he's a guy that if he blows up for a couple games, I can trade him right away for maybe a 3rd or something like that. So it all might work out. We'll see what happens. I don't have to cut guys until August. I mean, probably the end of July, beginning of August. So we'll see what happens. There injuries happen, and some of these guys might move up depth charts. We'll see.
I'll tell you, Chet, you never know where one of these guys might end up landing. They might get a shot somewhere.
Yeah. All right. So the next one is a Bryce Young. This is Superflex. Bryce Young and the 401 for Mason Rudolph, TJ Hawkinson, and Israel Abanikanda. Hawkinson might be out at least half this year next year, I'm thinking, possibly.
Yeah, that's a toughie. I mean, if you need QB, I like Bryce Young. If you're like, hey, man, I really need a 3rd QB in this league, or if you're really desperate, you're like, I don't have anyone, I have to have a 2nd starter. I like Bryce Young. Rudolph is a total throw-in.
Yes.
Now, especially if they're kind of sound like he might not be back with the Steelers. I think him on the Steelers was his best chance to start, possibly, even though I think Kenny Pickett's going to be the guy unless something gets crazy. I just don't see any other team coming in and just offering Rudolph a pretty good chance to start like Baker Mayfield did last year with the Bucs. I just don't see it. So Rudolph is kind of a throw in there. Abanikanda, you like him. I like him. He's still really young. He's kind of buried there with the Jets. Yeah. Not quite sure where that's going to look like. I guess if you're buying the upside of TJ Hawkinson, obviously if Hawk didn't have the injury, he was coming in to this season full bore. If you don't like Bryce Young, I can talk myself into Hawk here pretty easily. But coming off the injury, it's a toughie. That's a real toughie for me. John, what do you think? Give me a second more to think about it here.
Again, this is my trade, so I made a lot of these trades.
Tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. Then.
I got the Bryce Young at 401 side because I'm in a win now team. I already have Sam Laporta, and I already have I forgot who my second tight is in this league, but I already have Laporta and somebody else pretty good. Hawkinson was my number 1 tight end or number 2 tight end behind Laporta. But now I have this team is so deep here, so I didn't really care. But my quarterbacks, I had Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, and then I had Sam Howell. And Sam Howell, I'm like, this is great. I got Sam Howell for a long time as my 3rd quarterback. I still got him. I got Ryan Tannehill there too. But I just figured I needed at least a starting 3rd quarterback for Bryce. So Bryce Young was kind of like my new sit and wait for a year or so and see if he develops kind of thing. And I don't want to give up Hockenson, but I didn't need him. And I was afraid that he was going to sit out the entire year this year, possibly, or not come back to full strength, or just be a roster clogger where even when he does come back in, he's not performing the same as he did last year. And I'm in win now. So I needed in case something happened with one of my quarterbacks, I needed a quarterback that was actually starting anyway. Who cares if he wins games or not? Just something to get points on the board.
With that context, John, I love the trade. I mean, you're probably buying Bryce Young at the absolute lowest you're going to buy him, unless he just flames out completely as a QB. This is a great buy. Hawk injured. The fact that you have Laporta, I love it. You can afford to trade Hawk in this situation. I like that move. Rudolph, like I said, is a throw-in. Hawk, Abanikanda, does he ever even see the field? That's going to be a question mark.
How hard it was?
I like it.
You know how hard it was for me to get rid of Israel Abanikanda?
I know you love him too. I know you love him. But you know what, John? You're just going to have to come back and take somebody at 4-1. You're just going to have to take a new guy that you love that possibly could be your new Izzy Love in the fourth round. You'll have to grab a guy.
And then another one, Jahmyr Gibbs into 209 for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Ooh.
A lot of Jahmyr Gibbs movement the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think St. Brown is the better long-term value there. But if you need a RB, say you basically have one RB or no clear-cut number one RB, and you're desperate, I could see getting Gibbs. To make that, I like the 209 throw in there. Like I said, I think you could get a decent wideout with that 209. I'm probably leaning St. Brown. I just think more value overall, and I think he's going to have less chance to go up and down as a running back. But if I needed the RB, if I was desperate for RB, I would make the trade. But I'm taking St. Brown.
I'm taking St. Brown too. This is not my trade, but I'm taking St. Brown. I like Gibbs. Don't get me wrong. I really like Gibbs, but I just think the St. Brown, even though he's on a pretty stacked offense, is probably going to even get better in the future because their team is looking pretty solid. I think he's just he's young, he's good. I like running backs, but I mean, you're looking at a long-term asset, and you could set and forget Amon-Ra St. Brown for a lot of years, So, all right, next league, 312 Dynasty Gurus. T. Higgins for Mark Andrews in the 406. So pretty much T. Higgins for Mark Andrews and a small piece. They just franchise tagged him, so.
Yeah, I think he's back. I like T. Higgins. Injury concerns a little bit bother me. Andrews coming off the injury. If I need tight end, I'm taking Andrews. I still think he bounces back. I think he's going to be good again. I still think he's the number one, even with Flowers there. He's the number one for the Ravens. I'm taking him, but if you got flexibility like you did with the Laporta trade, giving up Hawk because you had Laporta, I could see going after T. Higgins. I lean in a super tight end premium. I lean a little more the Andrews side.
Yeah, this one's awfully close. Andrews side kind of, because it's a 0.75 tight end premium, like you said, it's Andrews side for me too. But man, it's this one's really, really close. So I don't know. It all depends on your team. If you really need a tight end, you have to make these kind of trades to get to do what you.
Yeah, you probably don't want to give up Higgins, but if you're sitting there and your best tight end someone in the like 15 range, I can see you being like, oh, I'll take the hit to give up Higgins. Yeah. I can probably replace Higgins' production easier than I could in Andrews' production.
Next trade, 312 Dynasty Leagues. Brandon Cooks for the 406.
I'm probably taking Brandon Cooks. Cooks, to me, he's shown that upside. He had his up and downs last year, but I think he's more valuable than the 406. Even though I like those guys. I like those guys take dart throws. I just think Brandon Cooks is much more valuable than the 406. I'm taking Cooks.
Yeah,
I can at least flex play him.
Cooks has hurt half the season last year, and he still had a pretty damn good year.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy, even if he does get banged up, if you can get a couple good weeks out of him, playing him in a flex spot during bye weeks, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Noah Fant and Ramondre Stevenson in a 307. Noah Fant, Ramondre Stevenson in a 307 for a 204 and a 25 second. Again, we're going to say a 25 is a mid-second. So 204 and a mid-25 second. I love Noah Fant. I just at some point in time that dude's going to break out.
I'm hoping because he's a free agent. I'm hoping he ends up in a decent spot. I've got him on quite a few teams. I think he's underrated as a player. He just never really seemed to find his footing in Seattle. I don't know why, they felt like they always wanted to use 3 tight ends and they didn't care what else was happening. They just were like, no, we're using 3 tight ends.
Right.
I mean, they were mixing in was it Disley and Parkinson and all these other guys, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Just use Noah Fant. So I like Fant there. I still think right now you're hoping to buy. If you're buying him, you're hoping he gets a good spot. Stevenson to me is pretty equal to that 204 because I think you can get running back at 204 there. So then you're basically saying the 25-second for Fant and the 307. Man, that's really equal.
Yeah,
that's really equal. If you don't need the help right away, I would lean the younger. I'll go 204 and 25-second. If I'm a little more win now, trying to fill some holes, I can see taking Stevenson and Fant here. If Fant's your backup tight end and Stevenson can start for you in a flex spot, I could see going that. And 3-7, I think you get a wide receiver. Still get a decent wide receiver or maybe an RB there at 307. This is a really even trade for me. I like it both ways. Just kind of depends on your team. I'm probably going picks just because I'm such a picks guy. I want to have that picks. I want those rookies. But I like Stevenson and I like Fant, so I don't think that's a bad trade by any means.
Another interesting trade. Same league, 312 Dynasty Gurus. Drake London in a 204 for Tank Dell, 203 and 211.
Man, the Tank Dell. People just love him now. Isn't it crazy? His value, even though he got banged up at the end of the year because Stroud was so good, his value has skyrocketed, even with Nico Collins there. It's crazy to see what he's been getting traded for. To me, I'm a London and 2-4 there. I'd actually rather have London than Tank Dell for sure. You're moving up back one spot from 203 to 204. I think you're going to have basically the same type of guys to pick from. You're looking at second, third running back probably off the board, or one of those wideouts that drop. Doing the 211, I think if I like Tank, I want the 211 to move off of London. So I think it's a pretty even trade, but I'll take London at 204.
I'll take London at 204 and run with it. I'm not a big. I mean, Tank Dell had a pretty good.
I like Tank. I thought he had a decent season, but like you said, I'm not totally sold that Tank's going to be this fantasy, badass for long periods of time.
He's not built that way.
I agree with you. I think you're right, man. I think you're right. This is more of a smash now that I look at it. I think you're right, John.
Yeah, it's not my trade, but I wish it was. I wish I could get Drake London at 204. That'd be nice. Our league, the babies and the boomers. Cedric Tillman, 412 and the 311 for Treylon Burks.
I saw this trade and I was kind of jealous. I'm not going to lie. Came across, I'm still not ready to totally give up on Treylon Burks. He feels like when he came out, everybody liked the profile. I watched him at Arkansas. Arkansas did not have a very advanced offense. They were doing anything they could just to get him the ball in space and let him run. So he was a guy I felt was going to be a little bit of a project. And then, of course, he goes to Tennessee. He's not really good at developing wide receivers. And so then I was like, oh, man, it's kind of a twofer there with Burks and going to Tennessee. If you're totally out on him and you don't like him, I think the Browns are going to give Cedric Tillman the chance to be the number 2 this year. And if you want to throw the draft picks in on top of it to make you feel better on giving up Burks, I think you could do it. If it's me, I'm probably still taking a shot on Burks. If I'm making this trade, I'm going to take a shot on Burks and see if he ever makes it. I have Tillman on some teams, but I was able to get him mostly like late second, early third. So I can only see trading away Burks if you just feel like there's no chance he ever makes it. I'm going to buy the upside.
Yeah, this is my trade, and it's another one. I like to trade. I set about 50 a day, so I get a lot of these things. But Burks, it's either injuries or concussions or some reason that he can't separate, or he had something was going on that day, or they weren't throwing enough because of Derrick Henry. Maybe that changes because Derrick Henry's out of the mix right now. But I feel like they're going to bring in somebody like Travion, and maybe replicate the same offense they had before. I don't think they're going to do anything crazy. But, I mean, this is Treylon Burks' last shot. Like, if he doesn't do it this year, then it's over. The dream is over. That's the way I look at it. So, Isaiah Spiller for Cameron Latu in the 402.
I'm probably going Spiller here. unless I can guarantee myself to get Frank Gore Jr. at 402.
Yeah.
If I can get Frank Gore Jr. at 402, I'm probably going. I like Frank Gore Jr. better than Spiller personally, but I'm probably going Spiller here because I just don't know who's going to get there at the 402. I think Spiller. I still think he has a chance there with the Chargers. I don't think they've totally given up on him.
He's still only 20 years old, so
he's young. Spiller's still young. I mean, there's a lot can happen with that Chargers team. You know, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing here with some of these players.
Even if he goes somewhere else, that's fine. I mean, I'm good. And again, this is another. I have 7 guys over the roster limit, so I'm kind of taking one in the can on a 402 to get Isaiah Spiller. But hopefully I can. It would probably be easier to package the 402 with something else to get something else than trying to trade Spiller and something else for something else. So maybe I did lose on this trade a little bit, but I do like Spiller. I like having guys I like on my team, so that's I'll take that.
Yeah, and just looking at it, Spiller is only still 22. He'll be 23 by the time the season starts. So again, he's actually going to be the same age as some of these rookies coming out. So some of these guys that played those COVID years.
Yeah.
So he's going to be right there in the mix. I don't think anybody's giving up on a 22-year-old running back. Again, he was a 4th-round pick. People hoping he would go a little earlier. But 2 years in the league, hasn't had a lot of attempts. But I could see him getting a third-year breakout here. Let's do the tight end third-year breakout for Isaiah Spiller.
There you go.
At running back. I like it.
All right, so this one was Nick's trying to get rid of Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts, Jeremy Ruckett, and a 412 for Noah Fant, who we talked about earlier, Bryce Young, who we talked about earlier, JSN, who we talked about earlier, and a 305. So is Jalen Hurts worth Noah Fant, Bryce Young, JSN, and the 305?
I think you got to take the Hurts side. I've gotten offered way more than this for Hurts. In our Baby Boomers League, I got offered a load. I think the trade was Watson, Chubb, either Hockenson or Andrews. I think it was Watson, Andrews, Chubb for Hurts. And then he ended up throwing in a 2nd rounder, and I still didn't do it.
Wow.
And part of that reason is I just don't like Watson. So that was my holdup, plus those guys coming off injury. To me, this really seems like heavy on the Hurts side for me. I like this Hurts trade a lot. Jeremy Ruckert, maybe he makes it. He's going to that 3rd year for the Jets. I still think he's got a shot. 412, you're taking a shot. I guess if you really like Bryce Young, JSN, I like a lot there. I just don't think that JSN and Bryce Young and the 305 even equal Hurts, personally.
You have to have a lot of faith in Bryce Young. You have to think that Noah Fant's going somewhere really good. You have to think that JSN's going to, be
absolutely blow up
because of the fact that Lockett's gone, and you're going to get somebody good at the 305 to replace Jalen Hurts. And I'm not a big Hurts fan either, man. I just think that when this guy put something on Twitter the other day, and everybody made ripping on me about saying Hurts had 16 or 15 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, I saw that whole conversation.
I'm like, dude, get out. You know what? He's, even without, let's say he gets 4 or 5. Everybody last year, every person on the Eagles got tackled on a 1-yard line last year. It could have worked out any better for Jalen Hurts. And everybody's like, well, if you put this and, yeah, you could put whatever. It's Jalen. The next year he's not going to have, all those goal line opportunities. And they're not going to. They're missing a couple offensive line next year. Might not be all the same situation. It just worked out perfect for Jalen Hurts to score so many. You're looking at it's 150 points in what is it? What's 17 times 6? 64. That's 115 points that he's gotten fantasy points just from the tush pushes alone. That's a lot of fantasy production to lose. Say he gets 4 or 5 or something like that, like the norm.
I don't mind moving off Hurts. I just don't know if I like this package. If I'm moving off Hurts, I want a lot more for that right now. I agree with you, John. I'm a little worried about Hurts. I'd rather have some other guys personally, just because without the rushing touchdown production, I don't know. If one of these wide receivers go or something happens, my worry is that he's not going to be putting up huge passing numbers. So,
yeah.
But I like Hurts. I'm taking Hurts. Rucker is a total throw-in. You're hoping he does something, but
right.
And the 4-12, 3-5, you have to really hope that Bryce Young is going to hit and JSN really takes that huge step forward. For me, I think this is Hurts all the way. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough either, and I'm not a Hurts fan. Next one. Another one of my trades. Zay Flower, the 402, and my attempt to get the entire third round. I got 309 and 308 thrown in there too. And I gave away Jaden Reed, who I like, but there's just too many mouths to feed. I don't want to say it. Everybody says don't say that. You can't say it. There's 17,000 people. There's 2 tight ends. There's 15 receivers. And I just think Green Bay is, they have a passing offense, but I mean, what is Jaden Reed really going to have as much production as Zay Flowers next year? I don't think so. But Michael Wilson, let's just say for the 308. We talked about that before, where he's at, and Greg Dulcich again. I just guys I'm moving off on, and I'm in a complete total rebuild in that league. So if I can get Zay Flowers and maybe 2 running backs and a tight end, or again, we keep throwing Frank Gore in here, stuff like that. But there's a couple good running backs and tight ends. I can get it to 308, 309, 402 with Zay Flowers to go with Jaden Reed, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dulcich. So where are you at on this one?
Yeah, I like that move by you, honestly. Not just because it's your trade. I think I like Jaden Reed a lot. I think Flowers is a fairly decent amount ahead of Jaden Reed. Personally, I'd rather have Flowers than Reed, even though I like Reed. And so then you just got to look at the rest of the trade. So Michael Wilson and Dulcich, which again, if you think he's going to be constantly injured, you want to move off him. You're worried about Michael Wilson if they get a wide receiver. 308, 309, 402. Most people, they kind of blot that. I think there's going to be some wideouts and running backs there. I really do. And we talked about some tight ends that you could possibly get a guy that's basically Greg Dulcich at 4-2. So I don't mind that at all. I think if you're off of Dulcich, I think your Flowers is a little ahead of Reed. I think the picks, pretty much even out the Wilson side. I like it. I like Flowers. I'm probably taking Flowers just because I think Flowers is the best player in the deal. And if I can get that many picks and get some shots at it, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah. All right. Tank Bigsby for the 308.
Man, Tank Bigsby. Wow. We got to hope that was just him not knowing the offense and trying to figure out what's going on. I wasn't a big Tank guy, but I took him in a few situations last year. And he, just did not see the field whatsoever. I mean, he was buried. Hopefully, the whole offseason, he gets in the mix a little bit and actually becomes the number 2 behind Travis Etienne. But, it's right now because he didn't do anything. It's probably equal to 308. I'm probably taking Tank, hoping that he has a bounce back year, hoping that he has a chance to kind of grow into the position. Not everybody hits year 1. I'm probably leaning Tank, but again, we've talked about it. There's quite a few running backs that I think are going to be right in that mid to late 3rd round that I kind of like and want to take a shot on. So maybe I want Frank Gore Jr., maybe I want a Cody Schrader there, a Jace McClellan. I could see if you really like one of those guys and you're not feeling Tank, I could see making the trade to say, hey, I can get one of those guys. But I'm probably slightly leaning Tank here. I think he's gonna. I'm hoping he ends up getting up to that number 2 clear-cut role behind Etienne.
Yeah. All right. So those are all the trades that happened in the Mighty McGlynn Dynasty League. So that is an exciting couple days or an exciting week for trading in my home leagues. I like a lot of trades. I like the off season. I like when people are moving stuff around. And now there's been a lot more offers coming in lately. A lot more things moving on. So. I love the offseason so much. The trading in the offseason is absolutely fantastic. So I have the greatest team ever assembled in fantasy football. In my dynasty league. Okay. So what happened here is I lost because this guy's team, who he's got some studs on here, don't get me wrong, but this guy's team beat me with Gardner Minshew and Joe Flacco in the playoffs in week 2. I had a bye. I went undefeated. I lost one game the final week of the season on some fluke. I lost by a couple points, but then I got a bye. I went to the second round of playoffs and I lost. And the third round of playoffs, I scored 3. Nobody in the league scored like more than 210. I scored 315 in the third place game because I would have beat anybody by over 100 points in the championship. But I lost to this guy's team, and so let's go over the team here.
John, that hurts, man. I was in the same boat. I had a bunch of leagues where I got a bye week. I was either number 1 or number 2 seed, got a bye week, and ended up blowing that next week, and then just barely losing with a team that was dominant to a team that I probably should never lost to, and then turning around in the third place game and absolutely going off in
This
the
guy
third place
barely
game,
made.
and I would have won a championship. I know exactly how you feel because I had a couple teams do the exact same thing this year.
This guy's got a really good team. Okay, it's a good team, but it's super top heavy with no quarterbacks at all, like kind of thing like that. So he's got Gardner Minshew, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, who just had a lights out season. It's kind of, even without anybody else on this team, it was McCaffrey. This was like the Christmas Eve game. I think it was when I don't know, was it this week? Well, anyway, the second round of the playoffs. McCaffrey, Diggs didn't do anything. Zay Flowers had a blow up game this week too. Michael Pittman, he wasn't involved. I don't think he was much involved in this game. Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Chuba Hubbard, and Joe Flacco had that monster performance this week. And I was like, come on. Joe Flacco scored nothing. And the next week he had like -4. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, so bias of the week I played. We'll go over this team. Minshew, Eckler, McCaffrey, Diggs, Flowers, Pittman, Kelce, Aaron Jones, who had a really good season. But again, we talked about his long-term potential. Chuba Hubbard really kind of took a crap this year. Joe Flacco is not long-term. Your boy Clayton Tune, Trevor Siemian, Jacoby Brissett. That's his quarterback. Tim Boyle, Mac Jones, who's probably not going to have a job next year and possibly goes to the Falcons if he's lucky. Andy Dalton, Aaron Rodgers will come back next year, so he'll have possibly one quarterback next year. And he's got no draft picks going forward. Jaleel McLaughlin, Alexander Madison, James Robinson, Adam Thielen, MVS, Jalen Guyton, Juwan Jennings, Nick Westbrook-Ikine, Kyle Phillips, Kayshon Boutte, Gerald Everett, Jonnu Smith, who just got cut, Tyler Croft, Mike Williams, who was on IR, or Tucker Croft. Tyler Croft was.
There's two of them. Yeah, there's a Tyler Croft and Tucker Croft. It's Tyler Croft and Tucker Kraft. So yes, they're different.
Mike Williams, who's out all year, most of the year, and Jelani Woods, who you're like in tight end. He's got picks 308, 309, and he just traded a couple. I forgot who he traded, but he got 308 and 309 for somebody a couple weeks ago. So that was so he does have two picks, 308 and 309. They're not going to say dart throws, but they're get some running backs possibly. But this guy definitely needs quarterback help. He's only going to have probably Aaron Rodgers on his team. So this is the team I lost to in the playoffs on a fluke week. But what is this guy going to do? Because he's won the league. He won the league 2 years ago. He came in second place this year, and you can see the age is just creeping up on him right now. With this team, what is your direction here? Because I always want to talk shit about it so bad, but I'm going to let somebody with an even head, give your thoughts on this team.
I mean, this team is win now as it gets. I think like you said. I mean, it's a pretty old team. Everybody plays the way they need to. This team can win. He's got just enough pieces. The quarterback issue is a big one for him. Obviously, needs Rodgers to come back and be good. And even on top of that, he's got to wonder where he's going to get a second QB from. Because right now, I mean, he's got to pray Mac Jones ends up somewhere, even if he's not great. He's got to pray he ends up somewhere and starts because it's all backups from there. And who knows where Minshew's going to end up if the Colts bring him back. And even if then, you're going to have to hope that AR gets hurt in order to get a play. So he's really struggling at QB. He might have to make a move there. Christian McCaffrey, absolutely love him. Great. Eckler, he could be finished. I mean, he did not do much for the Chargers last year. They seem like they're out on him. He could be completely gone. Aaron Jones, who can stay healthy, still can be in your mix as a starter. I like the wideouts. Zay Flowers is good. I think Michael Pittman's an absolute stud. A lot of talk around Diggs with the end of the year, but I still think he's got a little bit left. I think he still goes back to Buffalo and is pretty good. So I still got a good wide receiver core. I like Travis Kelce. I still think he's coming back. It's going to be good. Tucker Kraft is the backup to him. I like Chuba, even though you can't don't love Chuba. Unless they do something crazy at running back, he was pretty much the guy. They liked him. He was playable in fantasy. He didn't win you much, but he at least got you some points as a flex play. So I don't mind him as a flex play there. That super flex spot is the big issue for him with a second QB. Can Adam Thielen pull off another solid season at wide receiver for the Panthers? I mean, he was a target hog earlier in the year. Madison's, who knows about him? He did not performed well for the Vikings. You figure they got to replace him. Just a really shallow bench. Mike Williams, you're begging him to come back. And Jelani Wood's a guy I like, but I don't think he's going to be a super relevant fantasy player, man. This one's tough. It's like you look at all those good pieces and you're like, man, you got some really good pieces, but it's like he's an injury or two away from it just melting down. I mean, if you had CMC or like a Pittman get hurt, or say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, the season's done. I mean, it's done. So he's got to really decide, am I going to try to make a move? Can I maybe get another older quarterback? Will somebody throw me a Derek Carr for not much? Can I get, just a playable guy that's, and then see if I can make it happen? So I think he's got to either decide one way or the other hardcore. There's not a lot of middle ground here. I think you either got to make a move for another QB and say, hey, man, I'm going for it again, or you got to start shipping everything away for players. And I mean, and the thing is, if he ships everything away for draft picks, this looks like a long rebuild. You know what I mean? It looks like a long rebuild. You could CMC, you could get a lot for CMC. He's great. Running backs still are tough on how much you can get for him. I think Zay Flowers is going to be tough to get what you paid for him with a first rounder. Michael Pittman is worth a first rounder. Will somebody give you more than that? Travis Kelce, he's right at the end. I traded Travis Kelce 2 years ago, and I couldn't get 2 first rounders for him. I had to end up getting, and he led the league back-to-back years in scoring in this one time in premium league, guys, and I still couldn't get 2 firsts. I had to settle for a first and like a second and a third. Man,
this team's a year away from having Zay Flowers and Michael Pittman and nobody else on the team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're gonna have to make the conscious decision. I'm either gonna give it one more shot, and if somebody gets hurt or something happens, I'm gonna have to just bail, and I might have to bail for less than I could get before the season starts, or I'm gonna start just clearing house and know my team's gonna be awful this year, and just start lining up like 24 or 25 picks and just tank away. Because like I said, this team can compete, but he needs another QB, and he has to have Rodgers be healthy. And again, he's not deep. So 1 or 2 injuries, and this thing could fall apart immediately.
He's already
but the problem is, like,
second also.
Yeah, the problem is Aaron Jones. Like, what are you really going to realistically get for Aaron Jones? Austin Eckler. I mean, nobody. I'd be shocked if somebody gives you a third for Austin Eckler right now.
Right.
Hubbard. I mean, even if you wanted to move him, he's a playable guy in fantasy. I like him if I got him as a flex, but nobody's going to trade for
I'd rather have
capital for him.
I'd rather have early 4th round picks than Chuba Hubbard, to be honest.
I mean, I would take I would probably third. I need at least a third, but there's no way to just give you a second. You're gonna have to. A third is the best you can do, and the only way I do that, maybe I even take an early 4th if I clear house. If I've already got rid of Aaron Jones, I got rid of Diggs. I took like a late second for Diggs. I cleared out, maybe somebody that's in win now mode would give me a first and a third for Pittman. McCaffrey's obviously your biggest selling point. Can you find a team that's like a guy away? And could you squeeze 2 firsts out of somebody? I mean, I would pay 2 firsts for CMC. I've done it before.
Yeah.
But I'm also a CMC stan, so I mean, I'm all over him.
What if Diggs leaves Buffalo and goes somewhere else where he's not, not even getting production? What if he goes somewhere else?
And that's the question. I mean, this team is. I mean, you're right on the verge. I mean, you're playing with fire, and I mean, you're not just mixing up the fire. You're like face in it, like right up against it. Like you're almost 3rd-degree burns here with this team. Yeah. Oh man. I guess the problem is you can say just sell and rebuild. Man, a sell and a rebuild. This feels like a long rebuild. Even if you sell off for some decent pieces, you're going to be at. I would assume it's going to be 2 or 3 years if you hit your draft picks before you're even back in the mix.
Yeah. Somebody with win now with a handful of draft picks would probably have a pretty good time with this team. But other than that, and even so, what's this guy going to do with? I mean, you can rebuild, but there's. I mean,
the question is, like, even if you say, "Hey, I am going to rebuild," it totally depends on what you can get for all these guys. If everybody says like, "Oh, this guy's in rebuild," I'm not overpaying, and the best you can get for Aaron Jones is an early third. Oh man, is a really early third going to help me in the rebuild that much? I
Right.
don't know, because what you might end up with some solid players, but if your whole team's late second and early third round players, that would be nice flex plays, but they're your starting wide receiver and running backs because you don't have any high end ones. That's the toughie there.
Yeah, this season, this draft is a lot of depth, but not like studs kind of thing after the first round.
Yeah, and you're going to take a chance to hope that one of these guys hit, but it feels like a lot of depth pieces that I'm like, oh, I like this guy because he can be like my nice flex play. He can kind of grow, but
so you have no choice.
With that.
You have no choice but to go through the season right now and just start and hope to make the playoffs and get lucky. Otherwise, if you were halfway through the season, if you're not making the playoffs, you just got to. I mean, at that point in time, you got to try and salvage. Put.
You got to hope that CMC is like having another great year, and your team is just bad because your QB play sucks, and then you're like, okay, somebody else is hurt. Let me just unload Aaron Rodgers to somebody that needs him. Let me move Michael Pittman. Because again, Pittman and Flowers and CMC are probably your three best assets. And the problem is all your other good assets are old. People are just not going to, even if they're going to produce in fantasy, you're not going to get that production with a draft pick equal. Oh man, I have a couple teams I'm in the same debate on. I'm like, do I give it one more year? And the problem is I would look at how many teams are tanking in that league. Because I have a team like this that already 4 teams are tanking hard. And I'm like, I might as well just try to make the playoffs because they've already tanked harder than me. I can't move my guys for what I need to get better, to get good enough draft picks. So I might as well stay in the mix if I've got some good players. So I've got a couple teams like this that, a Derrick Henry and a David Montgomery and Mahomes and Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. And I'm like, I got just enough high-end players that if they play well, I got a shot. So I'm probably going to stick with it and fight through. But maybe he does it. Maybe sees he makes 1 or 2 moves for maybe another QB. And then he goes, all right, man, let's see it. And then if it gets off to a bad run, it looks like he's not going to make the playoffs. Hope that none of those guys are hurt and he can trade away a Pittman, a Flowers, the CMC and just go full on rebuild. But it can be a lot of rebuilding.
He needs Mac Jones to get a job somewhere. It's pretty much what it comes down to. I think that's the He needs the Patriots to say, you know what, we're going to do Mac Jones one more year, which I'm not sure is going to happen. But that, or they trade him to the Falcons, or trade him somewhere else that needs somebody else needs a quarterback. But
yeah, you got to see if the Pats move back in the first round and don't take QB in the top 3, or they take another position under QB, then you got to feel better about Mac Jones where you're sitting with Mac Jones. Obviously, if they take a Drake May or Jaden Daniels in the first 3 picks, you're going, I don't, now you're screwed. You got to hope for the trade. And then again, the only place you're maybe getting them traded to is a team that missed out on a QB and has somebody really old. Will they give him a chance? Some of these guys get another chance. Other guys do not. I mean, we all remember the Josh Rosens of the world that got traded and then he never got another shot. Literally never got a legitimate shot after his rookie year of starting again. So you'd hope Mac Jones gets a chance somewhere if it isn't in New England, but there is definitely no guarantee there.
All right, JT, where can everybody find you at? All that stuff going on? What's going on in the Twitter world, the X world, all that stuff like that?
Hit me up on Dynasty or at the Stew with JT Brew. That's my show. You can check me out there on Dynasty Pros Football. Also at JT Orange on the X. I'm here with you all the time on all the different places doing commission evaluation, Dynasty evaluation. So I'm on those shows. I'm going to be on Dynasty Trade Addicts tonight. So go ahead and if you're on, you subscribe to them. Check me out on Trade Addicts tonight. We'll be doing a show with those guys. But I'm a little all over the place, man. So you can find me anywhere. I post pretty much all my articles, all the stuff I do to X. So if you want to see where you can find all my other stuff, jump on there and check it out.
John McGlynn 75. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dynasty Evaluation. Jump on there. And thanks for joining the show today. JT, thanks to God. Have fun in the Trade Addicts tonight. It's a great show. Great entrance song. Great dudes over there. Say hi to Andrew. Say hi to Scott and Andrew and everybody for me. So I will talk to you later.
All right, thanks,
Goodbye,
sir.
everyone.